Can you introduce yourself and share a little about your background?
My name is Kori. I've been a hairstylist for 33 years. I'm Cherokee registered. I have lived in the valley between here and Tri-Cities forever. I was born abroad in a military base. My dad was in Germany when I was born. I had a horrible childhood. I had severe trauma for most of my young life. So I am very independent in my mind and I am very strong-willed because of it.
Would you say you lean more left, right, or somewhere in the middle?
Some people would say I probably lean more libertarian. That was new to me. I never really thought about that, but I lean more right. I have things to say. People say I'm blunt, respectfully, but I don't hold back. And some people say I'm opinionated. Because of my bluntness, people think that I come across rude. People think that I might be cold-hearted. And I have resting bitch face, so I'm not overly approachable. And then they instantly change their mind once they get to know me.
What moment in your life changed the way that you see the world?
Politically, I would say when Washington State, there was a lady in Spokane who had a salon and she had an hourly salon. And she decided that she was going to contact a senator because she thought that it wasn't fair that these salons that leased their stations to stylists, that they didn't have to pay as much in taxes because it's all split among, everybody pays their own. And she reached out to a senator and it became a law, or it was trying to become a law, that they were going to outlaw booth renters in Washington State. And majority of the stylists in Washington State are booth renters.
Can you explain what booth renters there are for the audience if they don't fully understand what that is?
So when a stylist, so if you go into a big salon, generally it's not hourly. So every stylist that works at a station, they pay that business X amount of dollars to use that station weekly. That covers, they have to pay for all their own product. They are their own business within that business. They don't get no money from the business owner. They pay the business owner $150 a week, maybe, depending on what it is, and they can write that off. But they are their own business.
Interesting, and that's a Democrat policy.
I don't know if it was a Democrat senator that decided to take it on to try to make it illegal in Washington State for booth renters for stylists to lease booths.
To what extent do you think government corruption is influencing these issues?
Depends on where you agree it's corrupt at. Some people think it's corrupt inside the White House. Some people say it's corrupt by the people who are funding the White House. And where does that land? Is that people in other countries? Is that media? Mm-hmm. Is that even any political powers at all? Is that someone else that has blackmail on somebody? Is it just the Clintons? It's hard to say where the blackmail is. But I think that there's fraud. And I think a lot of the fraud is from blackmail.
I feel like when we talk about corruption, like you were just alluding to in the beginning, it's this thing up in the ether that nobody can really quantify. And I'd just like to nail down, like, where exactly do you feel majority of the corruption is inside of our government? I know you said fraud, but I'd just like to be a little bit more clear.
I think it started a long time ago. I think Kennedy was shot for the same reason of what we're seeing now is closer to the end of what it was that they were trying to go for. I mean, how many times have people said that they're wanting to lower population or population control? How many people say that Nixon was pushed out? He didn't do anything. Watergate wasn't his fault, but he was pushed out because of this agenda. I mean, who knows how far back it goes? I mean, it could go all the way back to Babylonia, right?
Yeah.
There's been corruption since then. So I think people have good intentions. I think every senator that goes into office has good intentions. And I think somewhere along the way, you cross too many lines. You open too many doors. And when you do that, now you've created a way for someone to control you because somebody knows something that you did that you don't want out. And in the beginning, it could be something small. It could have been you smoked pot at some party and they don't want that out. And so then they're willing to do this one thing so it doesn't get leaked. Well, that one thing is worse than what you were afraid of. And now you're a puppet. and you have no way to get out of it because you just dug yourself way down too deep.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It feels like now, today, especially, it's even worse because just the smallest thing, like you mentioned, if you were to smoke pot back in high school and that got out today, because of the way cancel culture is and social media, that might be way worse than 2008. Obama put in a little subtext in his book and said, I did a little blow in college.
Right.
What is your honest view on immigration?
I don't think that people should come here illegally and be able to stay. Deporting people isn't a bad idea. However, I'm just going to use Hispanics because they're the biggest number. If you have Hispanics here and they've been here for 30 years and they haven't committed crimes and they're trying to live their life the best that they can, and maybe they let their visas lapse and maybe they didn't do all the things that they were supposed to do. Some of them are running Mexican restaurants forever. Should they be deported? No. Should they be fast tracked in the getting a citizenship? Yes. I don't believe in dreamers. I think that they should all have citizenship. I think that the government has screwed them over. And it's years. It's not Trump. It's not Obama. It's not the Bushes. It is long term. It's been going on forever. So I think some should just be fast, just give it to them.
Every other presidential election, there is a candidate that comes out and he promises that I'm going to make them all legal. And then you have all of these illegal immigrants that have hope that, oh, maybe I don't need to take the steps and I'm just going to be made legal, because taking the steps within the United States is expensive. Sometimes you have to go back to Mexico for 2 weeks before you can actually come back over. But the other side of it says that they broke a law, regardless. It doesn't matter if it's a felony or a misdemeanor, it's a law that they broke. And they're also cutting a lot of people in line and making it longer for those people in Middle East that are waiting for refugee status and stuff of that nature. Do you think the efforts by the Trump administration in the last year and a half are warranted in a mass deportation effort just to get us back to an equilibrium? Or do you think that the Trump administration has taken it too far with what ICE has been doing?
I think he's doing exactly what he should be doing, because we didn't have this immigration in Trump's first term. We didn't have this mass influx of people until Biden got in. And it's not that I'm a Biden hater, but it's obvious. You open COVID, right after COVID, it was slammed. It was crazy. And the amount of crime rose from the immigration. I understand why people want to leave Mexico, but they emptied their prisons out for it. Isn't that a terrorism act? The purpose of why they were doing that? Other countries were doing that. And it's not even just Mexico. A lot of other countries were emptying it out. We matter first. This is our country, and our lives matter, and our cities matter, and we need to feel safe in it. And if you're letting out rapists and murderers and people that are killing people just randomly on the street and bringing in drugs, and they need to go. They're not supposed to be here anyway. I guess you could call her a friend. She's older. She has a husband who's also illegal. She's illegal. Her kids were born here. Mm-hmm. They've been here for 30 years. Yeah. And they were nervous when Trump decided that he was going to do this ICE thing. And they understood why. Mm-hmm. And they were scared to and it was just, they let their visa lapse. And they had every intention of doing it. And then time escaped them. And then before you know it, 10 years is down the road and you're not even thinking about it anymore. So they were nervous to try to go get it redone, that they were going to have to go back to Mexico, that they have no family left. She had her husband go first, and he went and he said, hey, under the current conditions, I'm technically illegal. I have lived here for this long. He showed them his visa that had expired. They had all the documents. He provided freely. Yeah. He provided the house that they are buying. Yep. He showed them his kids in school. He showed report cards for his kids in school. Wow. He showed how much money he paid in taxes. That the IRS was still taking their money, knowing that they're here illegally, because departments don't talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And he talked to them, and they said, okay, you need to pay $2,000. Wow. Here's a new visa. Don't let it lapse.
Do you think abortion laws in the US are heading in the right direction?
Everybody's going to say that there's a reason that abortion should be legal. Abortion isn't a form of birth control, and I don't think it should be used as such. Um, if somebody is raped, they should have a right to have an abortion, because emotionally, how is that going to affect them? Having this child that was put there by a man that raped them. On the other hand, would it emotionally affect them worse if they had an abortion because now they just killed a child? And maybe that child would give them purpose that they didn't know that they had before. On the other hand, if you took abortion away, I am anti-abortion, except for molestation and rape, and or if it's detrimental to the mom, right? Then yes, so abort. Like if you're going to take abortions away and you want people to give their kids up for adoption, then you need to change adoption laws, because at this rate, to adopt a child in the United States is a minimum of $50,000. You're trafficking children is what you're doing. So that's why everybody goes out of the country to adopt, because it's too expensive here. There's so many kids here that need adoption, but people can't afford it. I was molested for 7 years by my stepfamily. If I got pregnant, I would have had an abortion. Not because I didn't think that I could take care of the child, not because I think I would resent the child, for the fact that if the child was born, the dad would have had a right to this child, would have had access to my life, would have had to have been a part of my life for the rest of my life. No. So and that includes rape victims, that maybe is someone that you don't even know. And then suddenly, I had a friend that she had 2 children, not by the same man. One planned, and one born of rape. She got murdered in 95, and he got custody of her. He had nothing to do with her. He got custody of her instead of the mom's parents that was fighting for custody. And they knew that he raped her, but it didn't matter because he was the dad.
There's been a large push online in the last 5 to 10 years about there being a rape culture in America. What are your thoughts on that?
Do you think that it's because that's what's been put in everybody's minds for centuries and centuries, because that's what men have always done to women? Is it just ingrained in the men's heads for eternity? Fear follows DNA. So, and they've proven that. So is it in the DNA now? This mentality? Some have it, some don't. Maybe. Does it make it right? No. Is it a power trip? Is it a control aspect? Is it a sickness? Is it some wiring connected in the brain that's wrong? Is it you can't control your urges? I mean, what is it? But at the same time, maybe women shouldn't go out looking like she's advertising for it. Not that that makes it okay. A woman should be able to wear what she wants to wear and not be attacked. But if you don't want people looking at you, then don't give them something to look at. And there's women out there that they're not any better than a man that does all this stuff too. So it's not one-sided.
Do you believe that stuff like this, because as you were saying earlier, like how your personal story and your friend who was raped, do you believe that like judicially and cops and our justice system, do you believe that we sweep rape under the rug?
I don't know that the justice sweeps it underneath the rug. Families sweep it under the rug. Shame. I didn't report mine. My mom knew. She didn't report it. It happens all the time. I have clients that never reported it. 1 in 4 women. If you were to take all the women, I do women and men, and if you were to take all the women, 1 in 4. If you were to take the men, easily 1 in 6. I know a lot of men that were molested by women.
I have neighbors who all 3 of them were molested in their family.
How do you intervene? How do you intervene without calling the cops? How do you intervene without ripping a whole family apart? How do you But is it better to rip the family apart? Is it And why are the parents okay with it? Why was my mom okay with it? I don't even have a relationship with my mom because of it.
How do you think LGBTQ issues are being handled in today's society? Do you think they're being handled correctly?
I don't care if people are gay. I don't Each to their own. If you want to think you're a man and you're a woman, I don't care. I I honestly I don't care. Societally, everybody has to have a label for some reason, which is why the whole alphabet is included in the LGBTQ plus, right? So I've lost friends because I am leaning right. And so therefore I must hate them. And I didn't even know until it just wasn't. I don't understand why all of a sudden people have to have a label to fit anywhere. And that's the only thing that I am disliking about the LGBT and all the other letters is, why do you need a letter to hide behind? Why do you need a place to fit? Can't you just be part of the human race?
What is your opinion on feminism in the current modern setting? There's first wave feminism, second wave feminism, but specifically what I'm talking about is current modern feminism, what we see today.
I don't pay a lot of attention to it because I think it's absurd. The whole If a man wants to pay for your dinner, save your money and let him pay. You know what I mean? Like, if a man wants to pay for a woman to get her hair done because that's what she wants to do and he wants to be supportive, let him pay, right? Women would say, no, I can pay for my own stuff. Well, maybe you can, but who cares? Why does it matter? If a man wants to hold the door open because he's being nice, don't be a bitch.
So I see the women that you're referring to right now. And then I see the other half of women that are saying, what happened to all the masculine men?
Right.
What happened to chivalry in the world? And I feel like there's this small sector of women who are these ultra feminists who are saying, oh, don't open my door. Don't pay for my dinner. Don't pay for my nails. That are ruining it for all of the normal women who want all of these things, who want men to act chivalrous.
And then you're going to get a man that's going to be like, you're a woman, you're independent, pay for your own shit. And then they're going to get mad because they were spoken to exactly the way they wanted to be. Mm-hmm. They want it. They don't really want it. Yeah. They think that they do because it makes them sound tough, makes them sound more independent. But if somebody was to say, if some man that they were with said it back, they'd be like, oh, hell no.
So in the last 5 to 10 years, you've seen a lot of different sports teams like the Washington Redskins that have had to change their name due to mass protests from Native Americans saying that the name on their sports team is insensitive. How do you feel about that as somebody who is Native American themselves?
The protests aren't done by Native Americans. The protests are done by people that think that it's unfair, but they're not Native Americans themselves, or they're wannabes. They've been told for their whole life that they've been, but they're not really. They don't live on a reservation. They have no ties to anything. Native Americans aren't protesting it. The Redskins Native Americans were honored that they gave permission for them to be called the Redskins. That's like Kamaikan. They gave permission for the high school to use that as their...
I just want to clarify for the audience. Kamaikan is a high school around here, and their name is the Kamaikan Braves. And their mascot is feathers of an Indian. So,
correct. Land O'Lakes. It was an Indian. They had permission to use that. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're just randomly putting on an Indian person on a package or a name or whatever. They've all, way back, had permission to use these. You take it away because you think that you're being fair to the Native Americans when really you're slamming them.
And it's actually interesting, specifically with the Redskins, the person who was their logo was actually a chief. Mm-hmm. I forget his exact name, but it was a specific chief. And the family of that chief was actually getting money yearly from the Washington Redskins to have him as their logo. And these people that protested it, they just lost that family a lot of money. And not even just that family, but that entire tribe. When it comes to Native Americans, you see a large alcoholism problem on reservations. You see a lot of suicides on reservations, lawlessness almost on reservations. Can you speak to any of that?
there are treaties put in place that pays Native tribes for whatever it is that they need to run their nations, to run their reservations and whatever, which is good because, well, they deserve it. But at the same time, like any social program, you take welfare, for instance, they give you just enough money, but not enough to...
Never to get ahead.
Right.
Just enough to get by.
Right. So you're basically paying them and holding them down with your thumb.
Do you think social media helps with conversations like these? Or do you think that they're more of a hindrance?
If you're in the right group and you have the right people, but it doesn't take long to get bots. It doesn't take long to get the people who like to hide behind their screen and talk a bunch of crap to people just to get people angry. And so you have all these people that like to cause chaos. And chaos is louder than general conversation.
What role does God and faith play in your life?
Having the childhood that I had, I was never raised in religion ever. I knew who God was. I knew him to be a higher power, the creator of all, and I don't know how I know that. TV, I don't know. But when you have a very horrible childhood growing up and you have all these things that are going on, you quickly decide that you despise him because you're just an innocent child. You had no control over anything, and yet he didn't protect you. So I grew up resentful, and I refused to call him God, and he was just a higher power, and screw you. He was always there, even when I didn't want him to be. How did I know he was there? Like, you can't see him, you can't hear him. Like, there's always it's like a tap on the shoulder, and I would just shrug him off. I was like, nope, nope, nope. When I was in high school, I don't know if this is a God thing or unexplained. I, for a while, had dreams of car accidents. And I would wake up and I would tell my mom or somebody about this car accident dream that I had. And I could see people, I knew the people that were in it. And I quickly found out that if I told, it would happen. And then I would play with it. I was like, okay, well, if I had another dream, okay, I'm not gonna tell about this one and see what happens. And then it wouldn't happen. Like, it would almost happen, but it was avoided. And so then I got in a car accident, and my stepbrother was driving, and we were picking up friends, and it was cold outside, and I told my mom exactly word for word, I don't know when it's gonna happen. And he went, and me and him, and he went to go pick up my friends, and we were going to school. And it was, as soon as we picked them up and we got on the road, I instantly knew it was going to happen right now. I never saw myself in these dreams. I only saw everybody else. In my dream, I woke up before the end, but I knew what the end was. It was foggy outside, it was icy, and we were on OIE, which Old Inland Empire between Benton City and Prosser. There was a semi that was jackknifed on OIE and Bun Road, and you couldn't see it until you got there. Like,
until you could see it.
Till you could see it, right. And, fog is white, the semi was white. I knew, based on my dream, that it was there before we could see it.
Wow.
And my stepbrother was driving, and he was just not going to do anything. He slammed on his brakes, but it was icy outside.
Oh, so, yeah.
So, I mean, what are you going to do? But I knew that if he didn't do anything based on the dream, that we possibly could have been decapitated.
Yeah.
And so I reached over and I slammed the steering wheel to the left so he would hit the tire of the semi, only because
you knew
of what was in my dream.
Interesting.
And we hit the tire. And I still ended up in shock because I didn't fully dry my pants because I didn't have time. And I was sitting on the cold. And so they were cold, and we ended up in the hospital. And so then they called my mom, and the police, she came in, the police was talking to her, and they told her exactly what happened. She's like, she just told me this morning. And so then I was like, I'm not gonna do this no more.
And in that moment, was that the moment that you came to God, or was that something that you look back on now that you have a relationship with
That's
Him?
a moment that I look back on. I didn't come to God until I wasn't never able, for the longest time, I never got pregnant. I should have been pregnant, but I got married when I was 25, and I was pregnant before I got married. My clock was ticking. I wanted to be a mom. I knew I was told I'd probably never have kids. And my husband at the time was a narcissist, and he used sex as control. So I knew exactly when I got pregnant, and I prayed to God, and I said, if you are real, I knew that he was real, but I said, if you are real and you want my respect, and you want me to know whatever it is that you want me to know, you will make me pregnant, and you will do it tonight. And it was after we had already had sex. And so I forgot. And then 6 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant, and I still forgot that I made that deal. And 9 months to the day, he was born. And my dad, in this time frame, had become a minister. Never, ever was he into God prior, right? But he found God, or God found him, or however that works. So he wanted to be a minister. And so he was there for my delivery. And afterwards, he's like, isn't this a miracle? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to hell. And I told him, and he says, you can't negotiate with God. Bet me. And it wasn't instant. It was a struggle. Mm-hmm. I would follow, and then no, screw you. Yeah. And then I'd follow, and I was like, screw you. Yeah. Right? And I still struggle with that just because it's habit, not for any other reason. Yeah.
If any Christian or any person ever tells you that they don't struggle with their faith, they're lying.
Well, we're flawed. Exactly. So how would we not struggle?
Exactly. What role do you think now being Christian plays in your life? What kind of comfort does it bring you now?
I'm still learning. I will say I don't go to church. Mm-hmm. My dad thinks that's an abomination. Well, he says that, you need to be in a fellowship. And I asked him, I said, well, how many people's in a fellowship? He's like, well, 2. Well, I got me, myself, and I. That's what I used to say, but I don't think that anymore. I mean, I have a lot of clients. Mm-hmm. And, it's taboo. You don't talk about sex, politics, or religion. No, it all goes. We talk about everything. It does not matter. And it's like I go to church because I have Muslims. Yeah. I have Catholics. I have Mormons. I have Baptists. Mm-hmm. I have one that's a Buddha. I belong to God, and I belong to the commonality that all religions have.
If someone completely disagrees with everything you said here, they think you're a wacko, what would you want them to still understand about you?
It takes all sorts of differences in the world to make the world go round. Nobody has to agree with me, but nobody can say that they 100% disagree with somebody. And if you do 100% disagree with everything that I have to say, who are you hiding from?
I appreciate you taking the time to watch this interview. Whether you agreed with everything said or not, the goal is to have a real conversation about difficult topics and hear people's experiences directly from them. If this video gave you something to think about, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you have a story or perspective you'd be interested in sharing, you can reach out to me as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.